Okay, come back to Canadian politics if we can for a second. Your Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, you've heard this discussion over the last little while versus the way he's trying to, handle the media and the way the media wants to ask questions and all that stuff right now. Stephen Harper's come out and said that he believes that the reporters on Parliament Hill are biased against his government, so he's not planning on dealing with them anymore. Just won't deal with them. He actually says that, in his eyes, Ottawa and the press gallery seems to have decided to become the opposition. So today, reporters in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, challenged your Prime Minister on that. We'll get to it in a moment. But first, here's what Stephen Harper had to say yesterday about the press gallery on Parliament Hill.
They don't ask questions at my press conferences now, so, we'll just get the message out on the road. The press gallery at the leadership level has taken, an anti-conservative view. I have trouble believing that, frankly, a Liberal Prime Minister would have this problem.
Interesting, eh? Harper was reacting to this. Tuesday in Ottawa, the Prime Minister announced a $40 million aid package for Darfur in Sudan, but there were hardly any reporters in sight. Why? Well, because about 2 dozen of them walked out on the PM when he refused to take their questions. You see, Stephen Harper does not want to hold news conferences unless his staff can control who can ask the questions, and they want to do it from a list that they compile. Now, the Prime Minister's office says it just wants to control all the shouting and the yelling that they feel has come common within the media scrums on the Hill, but the Ottawa Press Gallery has refused to go along with that. That's one part of the story. But what about Stephen Harper's claim that the Ottawa press is anti-conservative? Well, today in Vancouver, the CBC's Terry Milewski asked the Prime Minister about that.
Thank you. Prime Minister, since you were elected, you've risen dramatically in the polls, amid general applause in the media for everything your government has done, from Afghanistan, the budget, softwood lumber, you name it, while the Liberals continue to be covered and described in the media as leaderless, divided, and even corrupt. So a lot of people inside and outside the media were surprised to hear that you think the media is biased against you. Do you have any actual evidence of that, and would you be specific?
Well, I think, Terry, I think this kind of this stuff with the government and the press gallery, I think, frankly, it's all inside Ottawa stuff. I think what's unfortunate is when, we make ourselves available to the media, the press gallery will not allow journalists to ask questions. If journalists want to ask questions, to me, that should be their choice. And they're the ones who suffer because, and say otherwise, I don't think the public cares. So I think it's unfortunate, but that's something the press gallery is going to have to work out among itself.
With respect, Prime Minister, isn't it the case that simply isn't true, what you've just said? The press gallery, as I understand it, takes the position that they're entitled to pick who asks the questions. Your government, as I understand it, is insisting that your staff should pick who asks the questions, as Dimitri just did when he called upon me.
Well, when we set up a press conference, we set up a press conference. In my view, if journalists want to ask questions, they should be able to. It's not up to the press gallery to make that decision for them. But, as I say, it's unfortunate for those who want to ask questions. And I think a lot do. But as I say, I don't think, they don't get to ask their questions. I don't think anyone outside of Ottawa cares. I think that's what's unfortunate.
Why is it so important, sir, for your staff to pick who asks the questions?
Chief Fairchild Television.
Okay, now listen, I know that these days in this country it is very difficult to look beyond one's political spin. If you have a political spin, a point of view, if you're left-wing, centrist, right-wing, whatever, I'm asking you to put that aside for a second. I want to cut through some of the spin and the crap here. The stuff that Stephen Harper, the Prime Minister, said about the press gallery deciding who gets to ask questions, here's how it actually works. You either have a scrum, which is a free-for-all, anybody ask question, or there's a formal news conference, and at a formal news conference, the press gallery asks questions on a first-come, first-served basis. As in anybody asks question, first come first. Simple as that. Oh, and another thing that we want to cut through here. Would a Liberal Prime Minister have it any better, like Stephen Harper had suggested? Well, let's play a clip here for you that we dug up from the last election campaign. Same reporter, Terry Milewski, in exchange with former Liberal Prime Minister Paul Martin over softwood lumber.
Terry Milewski, CBC News.
Prime Minister, by your own account, there's been modest progress on this file. The tariffs have been cut in half. And yet here you are again bashing the U.S. over softwood. Doesn't Ambassador Wilkins have a pretty good point here by suggesting that this is great politics for you during an election, but it's unproductive and may even make it harder after the election to get results?
The fact is that the progress that we have made because we stood up for the spirit and the letter of the NAFTA agreement.
You think that Ambassador Wilkins is trying to dictate to you?
Ambassador Williams is a man for whom I have the greatest respect.
So there you go, Terry Milewski, not afraid to ask tough questions, regardless of the political stripes. It takes brass to ask the Prime Minister a question you know he won't like no matter what party he's in, which is your job as a journalist. And this thing here with Stephen Harper, look, this isn't about the media whining about how hard things are. I mean, who cares? Everybody's job is hard regardless of what you do. This is about making sure that you, the voter, the person who dumps half of your money half the time into taxes, make sure you get the information you need. And not just a politician's message track. Because what the hell is the point of having a democracy if all you do is, do you believe everything your government says?